from the Sunday Sport on X today. Apart from forgetting his poppy, nicking an RAF veteran's poppy, looking like he was about to punch the Shadow Defence Secretary and losing another prisoner live on telly. That was a pretty good PMQs for Mr. Lammy. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and I loved watching it. So let's do it together. I'll also say this. It shows how far Britain has fallen when the Sunday Sport, a paper famous for having a dwarvish photographer prowl the bars of Soho so he could take photographs up young women's skirts, a paper famous for that, is now doing better journalism than the BBC. Sign of the times, that, isn't it? Right, there is some serious news to get to here because obviously we're going to laugh at Lamtron's appalling performance. The sweatiest, most evasive man, brain dead. Let's be honest, he's just brain dead. Calamity Lammy isn't fit to run me a bath, let alone run the nation of my birth. So before we get to that, I'll just point out the obvious. The reason he embarrassed himself so much is because he knows that he's been lying and covering up for the fact that there are probably a few dozen more foreign sex offenders happily meandering the streets of the UK when they should be in prison or perhaps more satisfyingly, deported at great speed back to whatever uncivilised third world shit pit they actually hail from. So that's why he's under pressure. That's why it looked like he was about to punch the Shadow Defence Secretary's face in today. And that's why shortly after his now infamous spat in the Houses of Parliament, news was released regarding yet another foreign diddler, covered here by The Telegraph. Second swarthy diddler accidentally released from prison. Manhunt underway for a man wrongly freed from HMP Wandsworth, that's the same one that let Kababu out, is taking place in South London last week. But before we get to that, let's just enjoy a couple of minutes of this shameful display by the pre-veteran theft mastermind chairwarmer himself, Calamity Lammy.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, the House is thankfully quiet, so I'm surprised the honourable gentleman didn't hear me when I said that of course I apologise and I'm sorry for the anxiety caused. But look, let me just remind him that he was a justice minister that allowed our prisons to get to this state in the first place. And it's now for us to fix the mess that we've got into. It's important that Dame Lynn Annals can now continue her work and understand what is happening. He knows that early release has begun under their watch in 2021.
Mr. Speaker, these are extremely serious crimes that we are talking about. I'm going to ask him the question again. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a very specific question for him to answer.
Deputy Prime Minister.
After his release, I put in place the toughest checks we've ever had in the prison system. It is important that Lynn Owens is able to get to the bottom of her work. I suspect there'll be more checks and balances we need to do. What we inherited was a complicated system that they set up, letting people out on the sly. That's part of the problem, and we're trying to fix it.
Mr. Speaker, he's the Justice Secretary. He's responsible for the justice system. He needs to take responsibility. And I'm asking him a straight question. And I'm going to repeat it once more for the avoidance of doubt, because he didn't answer it twice. He's here to answer questions. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a clear question. Can he give an answer?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Get a grip, man. I know I'm the Justice Secretary. That's why I'm at the dispatch box, also as Deputy.
Yeah, and then he got a bollocking off the Speaker. Absolutely ludicrous. The man is a joke. It went on for 6 minutes and 43 seconds, that. I'll put a link to the full clip in there. But basically looked like he was going to leap over the desk and stick the loaf on the bloke sat across from him. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. What a performance from that fat, sweaty creature. And you have to say, what were Labour thinking? How can a man famous for the clip that I always show when I accidentally drop his name, how can a man famous for this be the Justice Secretary?
If it feels like neighbourhood policing has vanished, it's not around you. We haven't seen a police while I've been here, and I've been here for a little while now.
Yeah, if you're foreign and you think that's like doctored, no, that's true. That actually happened. He is the Justice Secretary in the United Kingdom. It's unbelievable. It would be like making Ted Bundy the women's minister, putting that bloke in charge of the justice system. Unbelievable. And it turns out, as I said, 6.5 minutes, won't answer the question, throws it at him 5 times, and he just does performative outrage because he's a joke. And then lo and behold, what leaks today? Second surprise sex enthusiast wandering the street. Brilliant. There he is. Looks like a remarkably honest fellow. The 24-year-old Algerian man understood to be Ibrahim Kadoua Sharif was wrongly freed from HMP Wandsworth last Wednesday, but the prison service only told the Met Police about it at lunchtime on Tuesday. Kadoua Sharif was serving time for trespassing with intent to steal and had previously committed indecent exposure. Absolute wrong'un. He most recently appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court in September on a charge of failing to comply with requirements for diddlers. And he was already facing deportation when he was mistakenly freed for overstaying his visitor visa. Why are we letting Algerians in on visitor visas? What have we got to do with Algerians? And how many times have I made this point? Again, if you were being charitable, you could say, like, at least if you're like Indian or Jamaican, like a country that we had something to do with at the height of the empire, at least maybe if you were being charitable. I mean, I'm not, so I definitely don't subscribe to this worldview. But if you were like a normal, run-of-the-mill, bog-standard left-wing idiot, you might say, oh, well, they should get preferential treatment because at least the empire had something to do with these people. But Algerians, Moroccans, the frogs, that was their empire. The Algerians, what have we got to do with Algerians? Less than all. That's what we've got to do with Algerians. Kadoua Sharif was already facing deportation when he was mistakenly freed for overstaying his visitor visa after entering the UK in 2019. The Home Office said he was in the initial stages of the deportation process after being logged as illegally overstaying in February 6th, 2020. This is why we're a joke of a country. This is what we keep telling you. The Home Office, the Justice Secretary, the MPs, they're in on it. How can a foreign sex offender who's been in the country illegally only be in the initial stages of the deportation process when he's been in the UK for more than 5 years? Think about what I'm saying to you. 5 years. Let me ask you something. If you had an Algerian man pulling himself off in your kid's spare room and you said, get out of my house, you've got no right to be here, would it take you 5 years to drag him out, pull him down the stairs, drive him to the airport in manacles, throw him on the plane and get rid of him? Do you think Mr. Lamtron would delay that long if the bloke was exposing himself in his street? Or would something get done about it the same day? I'm too enraged to read the rest of the story, so I'm going to call it early. You can read that yourself, but I really want to end it there so this sinks in. He's in the initial stages of a deportation process, an illegal, lying, thieving, burgling, foreign sex offender from Algeria, which has less than naught to do with the UK anyway, and the British government and the civil service and the Home Office couldn't give a single shit because you are ran by human scum, absolute pond life. David Lammy. I'm telling you, I'd rather spend a month in a static caravan at Redcar, sharing a bunk bed and going out on regular drinking binges with Bill Cosby than even have to speak briefly to the detritus of humanity that leads the UK down the garden path. Someone like David Lammy and Wes Streeting and the android himself. These people are beneath contempt, all of them, and it's on purpose. They're sacrificing your children, your wives, your daughters, your kids on the altar of political correctness because they want power. And they don't care how many innocent children, carefree young women, are mercifully not nonced by a thieving, lying import lasses in general. They have to throw on the toxic fire to do it. These people are contemptible scum. And if there's any justice at all, perhaps one day after it all kicks off, the lot of them can be dragged, kicking and screaming from their holes and tried for the laundry list of crimes they all want charging and prosecuting for. Because if this type of shit's not criminal negligence, nothing is. All right? If you disagree, because you're a brain-dead pinko, please let me know in the comments down below. All right? I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.